thing, going back a little bit about the Maui thing, and all the
Right.
criticism of Joe Biden, because that's what they do. I mean, all you're
Yeah.
going to do now is see, again, we've talked about the difference when you're listening to so-called mainstream media, whatever, and quite frankly, Fox is as mainstream as it gets right now.
Right.
But from their definition of mainstream media, if they were critical of Donald Trump, like the way he handled Puerto Rico and the way he handled COVID and he handled all that stuff, the criticism was legitimate. There was a place,
Right. Right.
that it came from.
Right.
Now, if there was nothing to criticize them for, they wouldn't make things up like
Right.
Fox News does.
Right.
But I think I saw on her left hand she's married, because if she wasn't, I'm in love, I think, with Jessica Tarlov of Fox News.
Oh,
I'm in
yeah.
love with
You
her.
introduced me to her. Well,
Yeah,
not
yes.
to
So
her, but yeah.
I wish I could introduce you because I'm in love with her. I'm in love with her. I gotta say it. But she's on the 5, and so there's 4 dipshits and her, and she basically takes on the dipshits in their lives. And they, of course, had their false narrative about Joe Biden and Maui. This is her response, taking on all 4 of these idiots.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
There have been so many craven lies told about the timeline of the response on this. Jesse just said his first comments were no comment, which is categorically untrue. So that was on August 13th. The wildfires started on August 8th. On August 10th, that's when a major disaster declaration occurred. He got the call, the request from Hawaii to do that. It took him just 63 minutes to sign that.
You signed a piece of paper. I'm talking about significant public comments.
Just wait for it. And then later that day, he was in Utah talking about something else, and he opened up by commenting on what was going on in Hawaii and how devastating it was. Listen to what the governor of Hawaii, Josh Green, said. Within 6 hours, the administration met our needs with federal movement. I don't think that's ever happened before. The Maui County mayor, I wanted to say how responsive the president has been. He called me. I asked for the help that we needed. And within 2 hours, one of his cabinet members called me to answer my question. We've been getting all the help that we need.
That's the Maui mayor. Just pointing that out.
Right, and you don't think at a time when there are hundreds of people dead and there's another 1,000 people that are missing, that the Maui mayor wouldn't have said, Joe Biden is lying to you when he says that they care.
Oh, you got to be nice. You got to be nice. You have to be nice because you're hoping for something.
You're hoping for all the things that he got. The FEMA aid came in. I saw Republicans criticizing him. Why do you only give them $700? That's the FEMA limit.
Never been done before.
He was talking to a dog whose paws are on the ground. It's not like he's saying to
what a guy talking about talking to a dog. Are you kidding me? This is a guy who goes.
And clearly she's drunk again on her show, Judge Jeanine. But again, it's the way she just takes them on, and they do have to sit there and take it, which I do love because it does appear as if she did make a stipulation on that show. I'll be on the show. You got to let me say what I got to say, because if you don't, what's the point?
Right. And then they're like flabbergasted, and they can't even respond with facts because she's giving them facts. So they got to make sure, are you kidding me? Like it's got
snide remarks.
Yeah, because they have nothing else.
She read a quote by the Hawaiian governor, and then she read a quote from the Maui mayor, and he had to make fun of it. He was like, oh, the Maui mayor, by the way. It's like, well, wait a minute. The Maui mayor is a pretty important person in this.
Because we're going to bring politics into it. Oh, he wouldn't say, like, his people are fucking dead. If they didn't get a response, he would say, help us. Somebody help us, is what they would be saying. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Because he didn't touch down the day of while the fucking fire was still happening. He wasn't. Why isn't he here while the flames are like, what is...
Again, that's what's making politics kind of not fun anymore. Because again, I have no problem with criticism of anybody politically. I am not married to any politician. I know there are politicians that I really admire and I really like, but I don't bow down and celebrate politicians the same way maybe I do my sports teams or something like that. But people are doing it like they're celebrating they're tailgating a fucking truck with 10 flags hanging from it.
It's so dishonest. Like, what? Who the fuck are these people? It's so bizarre. Like, if Trump went to Puerto Rico and did a great job and his response was right away, or if Bush went to Louisiana and did what he was supposed to be doing, we would say it. Like, we would give him the kudos that they deserve, but they didn't.
Yeah. It's totally amazing. And it's, everything is anti-Biden, everything is, and again, it's fine, but that's just, for me, that's not good for the country. It's just to opine on how much you don't like somebody and you're going to nitpick every little thing that they do. And, I know people would listen to this and go to say to you or I, say, well, that's what they did for 4 years with Trump. But again, I go back to Trump is not your typical politician. Some people go, well, that's a good thing, but show me the good thing that he did. What? And then I'll go, well, maybe you're right about that. And I'm sure he did 1 or 2 things that weren't terrible, but
I don't even know. Like, I search my head, like, what can I say that Trump did that benefited Americans?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't. There's not one thing that I can think of. And I'm not just saying that because I have looked up. I mean, there are some things he did the First Step Act. I believe that was called, where it was a little bit more lenient to prisoners. I think it had something to do with that. But other than that, I mean, for overall Americans, like you just said, I cannot think of a policy. I can't think of anything that he did that was good for the American people.
And Republicans as a whole have done nothing. And I think it was you and I get the conversations and everything mixed up.
We're on 100 shows now. So
every policy that Americans use and need or is beneficial, it's because Democrats have introduced the policies and have voted on them.
Yeah.
Republicans love the babies. Democrats are killing the babies.
Yeah. And eating them too, by the way.
Eating them, but they voted against the Pump Act so that women, employers that have to give women the break to breastfeed, have to give them a safe, clean, non-bathroom place so they can pump. You love the babies, but then you don't even want to vote for the Pump Act or like the Hearing Act for infants. They voted against hearing tests for fucking babies. I mean, thank God Democrats, passed these things, but these are things that they voted against. They're voting against universal free meals.
I know. It makes no sense. And it's almost this freeloader attitude. It's just like, what, dude, what are you people talking about? But the other thing too, that is driving me nuts lately is, and it's been driving me nuts for a while, is the far right people are making enough noise to where it's starting to concern Americans that we're spending too much money over in Ukraine, which again, as American, we don't want to have to spend money on these kind of things. If we had if everybody was polled and said, would you prefer that we not send money to Ukraine? If you really understood the implications, the answer would be no. Keep doing it. It sucks that we have to.
Right.
If you understand
the implication, and that's the problem. They don't understand the implication. They don't understand, hey, well, number one, we're not sending the most money to Ukraine. We're
13th.
Right.
13th.
We're not even sending the most of the fucking with the NATO. We're not even sending the most of the money.
That is correct. And at least GDP wise. I mean, that's what, I think when it comes dollar amount, we're probably, but GDP wise, we're 13th of the entire amount. But to that point too, is so you have the far right going, we got things here in our country we need to spend the money on. So let's say we stop sending the money to Ukraine and Joe Biden goes, okay, let's start spending on the money here in the people of the United States. They'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're spending too much money. The debt's the debt. Even though their president raised the debt more than any president in the history of this country.
Right. And we don't help Ukraine. Now, you're talking about open borders. What the fuck do you think is going to happen?
Right.
What do you think is going to happen? That means that we're not protecting. NATO is together so that we don't get, I don't know, war declared on any member of NATO.
Correct.
If we let Putin just out there fucking going through Ukraine, where is he going next? Poland? Like, he's just gonna march on through and just gimme whatever he wants, and then that shows everyone, all other rogue nations, that they can do the same.
That's exactly right, and that's the that's the roadmap that he would be providing. He'd be like, oh, America's not going to do shit about Ukraine. Well, then fuck, the rest of them are going to be easy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And nobody understands this is why we have to. America is supposed to be the superpower. Like, we are supposed to help other countries in need. Do we do a great job with some countries? We do not.
Correct.
but this right here with Putin, we know Putin's a threat. We can't let Putin just walk on by. Like, that's ridiculous.
There are so many complexities, especially internationally, that there is no playbook on how to do everything perfect and right. Regardless of who the president is, Democrat, Republican, whatever. But this stance, like, this is wrong, this is right. I mean, there's a lot of gray areas, but on this Ukraine thing, it's pretty clear that being part of NATO, obviously, and not even being the country GDP wise that spends the most amount of money, is we do have some skin in the game in this thing. And it is important that we are behind Ukraine. And it's funny too, these idiots who keep saying this, in order for that money to go to Ukraine, it's got to be passed through Congress. Joe Biden just doesn't sit in his fucking office and go, hey, here's another check for Ukraine. And they go look around and go, what the fuck just happened? How come they're getting another $1 billion?
That part, it has to go. Just like the Maui money, right? Where is that? Where do they think that came from? It had to go through Congress first. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and like she made the point with FEMA, they try to make it look like, well, why are you only giving $700? Because that's the max you can give. So they're using.
And who else done that? Because I've never heard of it. I never heard of another president. I don't think Trump gave Puerto Ricans.
I don't think so either. And that might be the case
somewhere too. I don't even I thought Trump was withholding Puerto Rico's money for some reason because he felt like they were going to misuse it because they were like Puerto Rican. Like,
well, certainly he was. We remember the first perfect phone call to Ukraine, and how he was basically, not threatening, but he was bribing, the Ukrainian president. But it's just so crazy. It makes no sense. And that's why I said, I think that's where we get exhausted. I'm fine if you want to beat up on Democrats, you want to beat up on Joe Biden, but do it for something where you go kind of, gosh, shit, they're right.
Right. The way he pulled out of Afghanistan,
wasn't great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I honestly think it was fine because you just had to pull the Band-Aid off of that one. Like, there's never going to be a good way to pull out of a war that you've been in for like decades. It is impossible to plan it. So it just had to be done. And they already knew that he was going to be criticized for it, and he just did it.
Well, the other thing that just drives me crazy about that, it was Trump's fucking plan. He just, he extended the date, the original date they were supposed to pull out. Biden extended it to give a little bit more time. And then the date came, and then it was an agreement that was already made. It's like that story. I don't remember all the details, but remember the money Obama gave to Iran in the middle of the night, the $700 million, whatever it was. That was something that was already made by George W. A plan made by George W. Bush that had to be done.
Right. Right. They're like, oh my God, Obama's sending secret money to China. I don't know. It's like whatever they're saying, like making shit up. The pizza parlor that has the babies that the Hillary's been drinking the blood.
I don't know. I don't know how you live through life like that and feel comfortable.